Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome in today for episode 103 of the Podwans podcast. I am your host, Char J, joined by my co-host, Hereth Productions.
What's up, everybody?
And our other co-host, for the time being, Carter.
Hello, everybody.
As you can tell, Luke's not here. Luke will be taking a month hiatus so that he can, cool down. He's been doing podcast stuff for a long time, so him giving him this break, he needs it, honestly. So Hereth, I, and Carter, Carter will be switching spots with someone else as a host. So for the time being, Carter will be hosting this episode, and we got two guests on today to talk about Heroes of Mandalore, which, by the way, start of season 4, episodes 1 and 2, Heroes of Mandalore. A lot of Sabine, a lot of Kanan, a lot of Ezra, a lot of Hera, just
a lot of dark
saber lore. It's going to be great. Two guests on. Carter, are we ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, let's go.
The Jedi Knights are all but destroyed, and yet your task is not complete, Inquisitor. The Emperor has foreseen a new threat rising against him. The Podwans Podcast.
We are back. Okay, so the first guest coming on today is, I think I said this not too long ago, that he holds the mantle as most appeared guest on our show. He's even hosted shows, which he will be actually in this coming time. And he is the X-Wing connoisseur, anything flying, anything piloting. He is that guy. Let's bring in Chase at Forward Into the Black.
Why, hello there.
How's it going?
What's going on, Chase?
Oh, it's going great. How are you guys doing?
Really good. Are you excited to talk about today's episode?
Super excited. I'm not, I'll say this. I'm not like the biggest Mandalorian fan, but I do really enjoy this episode, or these two episodes, I should say. I love Sabine. Sabine is one of the coolest characters.
Who doesn't love
Rebels.
Sabine?
Yeah, super cool overall. So very excited to talk all about Sabine and the Mandalorians.
And I'm just excited to talk about this episode in general because of like how well it ties into what's going to be coming up with Ahsoka. So it's gonna be a fun episode to talk about. But Chase, where can the good people find you on social media?
You can always find me mostly on TikTok, sometimes on Twitch at Forward Into the Black, talking mostly about Star Wars and usually a little bit about Star Citizen here and there.
Wait, Chase, what was that other game you were talking about that one time? It was called Starfield?
Starfield, which will be coming out in September. I will most likely be doing a lot of coverage on. It's more of a single player game, so the talking about it can only go so far, but I will be definitely talking about that. Comparisons to Star Wars, comparisons to Star Citizen, and other sci-fi stuff.
Awesome.
So, Chase, I love the monitor setup in the back.
Oh, thanks. I got little moving backgrounds for you guys.
It's like the OG Battlefront from PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
The loading screen.
What's great about the setup is I can put on Subway Surfers if people are getting bored. If we lose viewers, Subway Surfers or Minecraft goes on.
Or those
Minecraft hardcore
that they play in ads.
Yeah, Minecraft hardcore.
The random ad games are
so good.
Really crappy, and someone's always doing like the worst possible move in. That's what we can put back there.
All right, well, Chase, it is great to have you. And our second guest coming on today, he has been gone a while, but now he's back. He has been on, I think he's been on a few of our Rebels shows, correct? I mean, he's been on before for Rebels. I know he's been on plenty. I wouldn't say plenty. He's been on a few Clone Wars episodes as well, and he's been on a few reactions as well. Let's bring in Caleb at CJ Star Wars 94.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
It's going.
Oh man, I'm excited to be back.
I asked you before this episode, and I was trying to figure out what was the last episode of Podwans you were on, and I couldn't recall. Do you remember?
Yes, it was a Stealth Strike, the episode with Kanan and Rex having to team up.
Stealth Strike, was that the one with Kier? Kier was on that one, right?
Or I believe so.
A different one. Hereth, correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't remember. I thought you were on the Zeb and Callus.
Yeah, it was Danny. It was Danielle and Kier. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it was like 30 episodes ago. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
But Caleb, how excited are you to talk about Heroes of Mandalore today?
Oh, I'm pumped. I rewatched the episodes today, and I'm ready to talk about them.
Good. And Caleb, where can the good people find you on social media? I know from your handle where they can find you, but name everything.
Yeah, so we've got Twitch, YouTube, TikTok. I just started Kick because everybody's moving to Kick now.
Yes.
And hourly pay, baby.
Yeah, and so on all of that stuff, you can find me at Escape Reality Films. And funny enough, y'all mentioned Starfield. Thank goodness the game I've been playing moved where it's coming out on, because I've been prepping for Baldur's Gate 3. They decided to nope, August 3rd instead. So that works out for me, because now I can play both if I want to without it being too much of an issue. But so I've been playing that, and then I talk Star Wars. I've been keeping up with new comic books. I just posted today about High Republic Adventures issue 6. I'm a few issues behind, and and then I do movie reviews also on TikTok. I've been going to the movies. I just saw Indiana Jones this past weekend.
I saw it
nice.
last Friday. It was incredible.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
And I remember, so Chase, not Chase, Caleb.
Yeah.
I remember it was a little over a year ago when I came on your podcast to talk about Brotherhood.
Yeah.
I had a really fun time with that.
So yeah, we got to work out a time when you can come back on, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a long time. But I'm not being like, hey, bring me back on your podcast. But no, go check out Escape Reality Films. I'm sure that you will love hearing all of his reviews, all of his book reviews, and everything that he loves to cover. So,
I love it.
Caleb, thank you for coming on. Hereth, are we ready to get the ball rolling with the show?
Hell yeah.
Well, let's
All right.
go.
Carter,
Before,
take it
hold
away.
on. Let's do a little icebreaker, even though we all kind of know each other already. And I actually really like this question. If you were to have Sabine paint one thing for you, what would it be? I already got my answer locked in, but I'm going to let you guys go
One
first.
thing Sabine would paint for you. Wow. It's a lot of things.
What kind of things, Char?
One thing. Whoa.
What? Anyway, Caleb or
We'll
Chase,
go-
whenever
let's
you
go, let's go Chase
whenever you
first.
get one, what would Sabine paint for you?
Paint one of my bikes for sure. Hello, cat. Maybe paint my cat. That might work well. I think one of my bikes, having a bike painted by Sabine, would be super cool. Like just being able to ride that around. People are like, oh, that's a Ren piece, isn't it? Yeah.
Is it what kind of bike is it? Is it a Schwinn?
I have 6 bikes right now. So
Okay.
probably my gravel bike. Like my really the fanciest bike I have.
So what would the paint look like? Would it just be the typical
The TIE Fighter she
purple,
paints,
orange?
the orange with the checkerboard, like that
Yep.
paint job on my bike would be sick, because that paint job is also available in Squadrons, and I love flying that thing around. So yeah,
Interesting. So your bike. Okay.
Love it.
Caleb,
Love it.
what do you got?
I'm also going to go vehicle based, because I feel like just a vehicle always looks great with Sabine paint jobs. And so I'd have to go my truck, and maybe definitely go with the High Republic logo.
Hey,
I like
that
go.
But I'd go the blue and black variant that's on a lot of the t-shirt promotionals for it. And I think that could look really cool, and maybe some like flames along the side with it.
Oh yeah,
Wait, could I
that'd be cool.
Wait, can we see your shirt?
Yeah.
I got to see a little
So
bit of it. Just the High Republic logo?
this is a High Republic one that was like done by some friends bought it for me for Christmas as a paint, as like a pre-made shirt that somebody made.
Oh, we are all
that's
the Republic.
awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
When'd
awesome.
you get that?
It was on a shop. I'd have to ask my friend where they found it. It was one of those digital shops, and some fan made it, and so
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Hereth,
Hey,
what would Sabine paint for you?
I feel like I was thinking about this for a while. I'll probably go with like a custom PC. Like just imagine like a Sabine like orange and white PC with like the white RGB.
Oh.
Like that would look so good.
Okay.
yeah,
I'm into that.
that's fire.
Carter, what would you have Sabine paint for you?
So I'd have to wait a little bit longer because I couldn't do it right now. But once I'm older and I get my own house, I'm gonna want my office space to have a whole mural of just Sabine artwork in general, kind of like what Thrawn has in his office. But imagine that, but over an entire wall. I think that would be super cool.
That
super
would be
cool background
crazy.
for everything.
Because I mean, it's just on a little rock, but to just have that.
I'm talking the whole style
tenfold?
of that. Just
Wow.
yeah.
All I
But
know
that's
is
why I
that.
don't want to do it now because it'd have to get painted over by a
Yeah.
landlord or something. So I gotta own the house first.
Yeah, I mean, you can get it done right there. I mean, there's so much white going on. You need some
Oh, yeah, right here.
Sabine color.
Right here.
You
Yeah.
need some purple, some orange.
I need something.
You need something. It's too white.
I know it's not. Well, this
it's like
isn't
you're
my,
in heaven.
This is my girlfriend's room, and she's letting me use it right now. But she needs some stuff, and we need to get on that ASAP.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, Sabine, run, But anyway,
Yeah.
I would probably have
And Char, what about you?
I would probably have my entire room painted that purple color because it's just, I don't know, something about vibrant colors.
Yeah,
It's like it feels good in a way.
it makes a room feel more lively.
And to have like a bunch of just the phoenix wings across my like on each wall. Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, with the checker in the background. Oh my god.
I don't know, something about
So cool.
Sabine's art is just like it stands out from every other artist. And Thrawn knows this.
He appreciates it.
Yes.
Ezra, dude. Why would he walk into Thrawn's office wearing Sabine's art? It's so dumb.
Exactly.
So dumb. I love him.
All right, Carter, without further ado, give us the synopsis of this episode.
Yeah, let's get on with the story. So, wait, is there no story intro anymore? We got rid of it.
No.
Okay, sorry about that.
Format
Okay, so
shifted.
Ezra and Sabine. Ezra, well, first off, season 3's over. We jump into season 4. Ezra and Sabine are on a mission to free Sabine's father, Ulrich, from being captured by Clan Saxon and the Empire. Ezra, along the way, Ezra can use a jetpack. We got some cool chase scenes with Imperial transports on Mandalore. Once they think they are successful, then Tabar Saxon uses the Duchess, which is a weapon created by Sabine Wren, on all the Mandalorians. Sabine is then presumes that her brother Tristan and her mother Ursa are dead, and the episode ends. This starts and continues a moral conflict within Sabine with her relationship with Mandalore. Next episode starts, and Tabar sends troops to finish the job where in the relics of the old battle. After that, Tabar talks with Thrawn, and Thrawn knows that destroying the Mandalorian armor is only going to make the Mandalorians more bad, and they're going to make them more of a problem. But Tabar Saxon does not realize the importance of this. Realizing they need Sabine to go on with their plans, the Empire goes to capture her. After the Mandalorians do not want Sabine because of the weapon that she created, Sabine owns up to her actions, and they are more forward. And then sorry about that. Sabine owns up to the actions her actions, and then the Mandalorians move forward on a strike against Tabar's Star Destroyer. They get to erase the data and destroy the Duchess, putting everything to a close. And at the end of the episode, Sabine realizes that she does not want to own the Darksaber anymore and gives it to Bo-Katan. That was kind of rough. Cut some slack.
It's first of many.
Yeah.
I mean, you've never hosted the show before, so it's a little bit different. But I mean, hey, you got it down. You got it perfect.
No, he has before.
And you got down the points that we need to
I
consider.
actually have. I've done it once before, and it was
Because Luke threw him on the spot once as a joke.
yeah.
That's what
I
Luke
was like,
does. Don't worry about Luke.
I'm Luke. I am what remains.
All right.
Just
Well,
replace the corn with the desert stand of Arizona.
Exactly. But then I guess I'm just gonna steal. Or Hereth, do you want to go next with your question?
Well, yeah, sure. So obviously, this episode deals a lot with the clans and different families and found family, and mainly Sabine's blood family. So, giving into that kind of theme of the episode, what impact has Star Wars had on your family? If not family, then found friends.
ooh.
I can start with that because like my dad got me into Star Wars when I was a kid. Like we had the VHS tapes of the original trilogy, and then my cousin, who's much older than I am, he took me to see 4, 5, and 6 in the theaters when the special editions came out. So like that was like always a big thing for like part of my family. But even now, I've become like the Star Wars encyclopedia for my family as they're watching like the shows and stuff, because they're all getting really into the Mandalorian, into Book of Boba Fett, and Kenobi,
And Resistance.
Yeah, they don't do the animated shows. They're like we're not doing the cartoons.
I was hoping
We'll-
that you would say Resistance.
I've convinced one person to like at work to watch Resistance for his kid. He's got like a 7-year-old daughter, and she hated the Clone Wars. And I was like, and he was like, it was just like she couldn't get past the animation style, and it was just all it was clones shooting each other, and she's really not into that. And I was like, you know what? Show her Resistance on Disney Plus. It's basically about race like race car drivers, but they're flying around. It's very colorful. And he's like, you know what? I'll try that. And he's like, he showed it to her, and she was more into it than the Clone Wars, but I don't know if she's fully sold yet. But she definitely did like it more than the Clone Wars. But my family super into all the live action stuff, and they're all like, who is this person? Okay, this person came in. I know they have to have some history. Who are they? Where are they from? Are they from a book? Are they from a show? And so doing that, and my family now has given me like such a different perspective on Star Wars and like the reception of Star Wars. Of like my favorite one, and I think I've talked about it on this, is when people talk about the Mandalorian episodes of the Book of Boba Fett, and like, oh, how he robbed the show. But for like a lot of casual fans, not having Din in the Book of Boba Fett would have been really disappointing for a lot of less intense fans. Of like, we have to remember, Din is just silver Boba Fett to a lot of people. And so they're like, oh, I really liked the Book of Boba Fett and it was really cool. But once Din showed up, it was like awesome. And then it kicked off from Din to that amazing finale. And like my dad, my sister, they loved the Book of Boba Fett. And a lot of that really did.
As they should.
It's a great show. So yeah, that's that. And then Friends, obviously you guys. I wouldn't have you guys without Star Wars. But my friend Roddy, who I did Rogue Council with many moons ago, we when Force Awakens came out, we went to downtown Atlanta to watch every single Star Wars movie in the theater back to back. And then
you went to the 22-hour.
Yeah, we did the 22-hour premiere. So we sat in a theater for basically from midnight till I think it was 1 a.m. I don't think it was midnight to midnight, and then we got out of the theater to go watch The Force Awakens. Like it was like you get pulled out of one theater to go into the other theater because there was going to be more than one theater showing The Force Awakens opening night at midnight. So we left that theater after watching 1 through 6 and then went to go watch The Force Awakens, like the first people to watch Force Awakens in public. That was great.
It's like I want to do that, but at the same time, I don't know if I can sit down on a chair for that long.
I slept through Attack of the Clones.
I was going to say,
I did sleep through most of Attack of the Clones and then Return of the Jedi.
It's even crazier now, which I put the runtime for everything, including TV shows. It's insane. It would take you a week currently if you were to just watch everything.
Absolutely not. I feel it would take like almost a week just to get through the Clone Wars. It feels like.
Yeah, Clone Wars takes up the beefy chunk of it.
Yeah, isn't Clone Wars like a collective of like 250 hours of content?
It's long. It's long.
Yeah, because you have 7 seasons. The first 5 are
120
Do you include the movie in that?
episodes.
Yeah,
No.
I included the movie in my runtime.
Yeah, so that's even longer. That's another hour and a half.
I mean, there's what? Are there 10 shows now? If you were to count them?
Yeah.
If you were to
So
count
Clone Wars
everything, there's
TV
like 23 total.
Yeah, Clone Wars TV show is 2 days and 9 hours and 38 minutes on its own.
That's gross.
Jeez.
And like 5 minutes of it is good.
Yeah.
I kid.
But you were still answering. I'm sorry if I.
Oh no,
took
I'm good on.
For me, I mean, very similar. Like I think we can all appreciate because of what we do that we're the encyclopedias to our families and friends for the most part. And then like very similar situation. My dad grew up with Star Wars. He got a copy of Phantom Menace for his birthday. And I watched that thing on VHS over and over, fast forwarding the parts I didn't care about as a second grader, which means just going to the blaster fights, the lightsaber, and the pod race.
Yep.
And then, but now I appreciate the rest of it as an adult, obviously, because I understand the politics that are now being set up in that. And I think also on top of that, like my dad, coming from that generation, though, he was not the type that hated a lot of the stuff that you hear about people from that generation hating. Like my dad loves Jar Jar. So like, I just get the positive energy of that from him. So like,
my dad was the same way. He loved the prequels, and when the sequels came out, he loved those. You know, he grew up. He watched the original Star Wars in the theaters, a bunch of times. But it's like he was like, it was like when the sequels came out, it was so cool to see Han, Luke, and Leia again. That was enough for him. Yeah, and everything else was just extra fluff that he really enjoyed. So yeah, my dad. I'm very fortunate that my dad was like, yeah, it's all great. He bought the prequels on DVD when they came out. So
yeah, and I think that positive energy feeds into raising me and you the way we are as Star Wars fans, where we can just appreciate Star Wars for what it is. And I think that's the most important thing I've taken from my family when it comes to Star Wars. And very similarly, I go back to them to see how they feel about TV shows and stuff compared to us. And then it's that same reaction of, I just liked it because it's Star Wars. And then and then on top of that, my dad finally went through the animated shows like this past year. Like yeah, last year he finally went through them, and he enjoyed it. He liked Clone Wars, and then immediately started Rebels, enjoyed Rebels more. He'd watched Resistance before when it was coming out, but he went back and finished it, and Rebels is his favorite, but he likes them all.
My dad would call me when Andor was coming out. My dad would call me at the day of every episode, and I told him one day, I haven't watched yet. And he was like, I'm really disappointed you haven't seen that episode yet. I was like, I'm busy. But Andor is his favorite now. He really liked Andor. But yeah, he would always call me. He's like, did you watch it? Okay, that was awesome. Now, who is that? Have we been there before? I'm pretty sure that's Coruscant. Coruscant's in the prequels, right? And I'm like, yep.
Yeah, and like I live with my family still, so they see me collecting the like timelines book and all the visual dictionaries. So it's in our living room on our coffee table, and I joke that's our coffee table books. That like you got to have your coffee table books, and those are the coffee table books to me.
That's awesome. Hereth?
I mean, it's funny because, again, very similar experience as CJ. I was introduced with the 2004 special editions. I remember my dad sitting me down and watching A New Hope and then going through the original trilogy and then going through the prequels. Not the same experience as CJ and Chase. They were definitely not fans of episode 1 and 2. They were definitely more fans of 3. I remember, again, watching them all on like DVD, like we had like the van with like the TV that would pull down and like with the DVD player, and we would watch like Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace constantly. Like, oh, that was such an experience. And then just same with everyone else. December would roll around every year. We would go watch the newest Star Wars movie. Never saw Solo, but we watched the sequel trilogy all the way through and Rogue One. And yeah, I mean, with the shows, it's very interesting now because it's like, again, they're very much fans of Mando and Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi, but they did not like Andor.
Wow.
They thought it was too slow for them, and we had very much different disagreements about that. But so it's like a very interesting kind of like we disagree on things type of discussions.
That is interesting. How about you, Char?
See, my story is interesting because when I heard Chase talking about his with Andor and how his parents were like, oh, is that Coruscant? That's in the prequels. My family never cared about Star Wars. I honestly have no idea how it latched onto me because I remember the first time I experienced it was back in 2005. I was 5 years old because my birthday's in April and then Revenge of the Sith was coming out in May. So TNT was replaying all the old movies and Attack of the Clones happened to be on. So that was the first movie I watched and it just stuck. And I was like a casual fan for years. And then once The Force Awakens was about to come out, boom, outer space. My love like exponentially rose. So my family never really was involved with Star Wars. They never really batted into that, except for me somehow. So I'm kind of like the odd one out in that case. But for my friends, my best friend growing up, his name is Marcus. And so his dad and his older brother were Star Wars fans. So like they were kind of the outlet for me to talk about that and appreciate that. And because no one in my family really cares about it, but they did. So like I was able to talk about it with them and they would understand. Like last week, I had my mom watch the first season of Mandalorian and she saw a stormtrooper and she asked me, are they good or bad? I'm like, oh, come on.
Well, I saw this YouTube video essay.
Like you cannot be serious. And then so whenever anyone in my family decides to watch Star Wars, I'm kind of they know who to go to. They know. So I don't know. So I really had like a small friend group growing up of like people who like Star Wars. But like obviously with you guys, like you guys like are a family to me. So I mean you're the Star Wars family that like I kind of never got. So I really appreciate all of you. And for me to be able to vent to you about all this random crap about species, space, planets, battles, movies, TV shows, animated, behind the scenes, Kathleen Kennedy, because everyone likes to talk about her.
At least once a month.
Oh, you mean the Antichrist, right?
You mean the person that's been fired 25 times in a row and it's somehow come back and George Lucas has taken over?
Yeah. Kathleen Kennedy always just comes up everywhere. But yeah, I appreciate everything that you guys have done for me as not just a Star Wars fan, but also a Star Wars creator and a Star Wars podcaster. So yeah. That's my spiel.
For sure.
I mean, it's crazy.
On
so
mine,
crazy. Sorry.
What was that? What was that, Caleb?
I was gonna say it's so crazy now because now you have that knowledge and now you're running trivia tournaments.
I know, like none of it was hereditary. I just picked it up on my own, I guess.
Sorry about that, Carter.
Oh no, so I was gonna say, so my dad is a teacher, and I remember I was probably in kindergarten or something, and he had all of his teacher friends over, and they were just binging the first 6, and I was like, okay, so my dad sat me down and watched all 6, and I started with Phantom Menace, and I just remember seeing Anakin burning in Revenge of the Sith and running to my room and just like bawling my eyes out. And I have like these Anakin toys, but I've never seen the movie, so I didn't know what they mean or what they meant. And I was just like bawling.
Let me guess, you threw them in the fire pit to make it canonically correct.
No, I didn't. I just was crying holding it. And then I was always like a fan. But it wasn't really like I saw Force Awakens in theaters. I think I saw Rogue One in theaters. But like I know for a fact I didn't see Rise of Skywalker in theaters, and I didn't see Jedi. Yeah, I didn't, and it's kind of weird. And so this is where it all kind of began. Was I always liked it, but I just like I don't know, for some reason I just didn't go to the theater and see it. So then one day during quarantine, I was like, oh, like I should probably watch this. Because whatever reason I'm behind, I watch it and then I'm like, damn, I hate this movie. And I was like, I hated this. I fell into the trap. I was like, I hate the sequels. I hate all of this, blah, blah, blah. And then met guys like everybody. And I was like, wow, these things are actually some of my favorite things that I've ever watched. So like, this is amazing. And then I introduced my mom to all the movies and we watched all 11 movies and Mando. Now, like you guys were saying, like my dad's coming to ask me, like, so do I watch the Book of Boba Fett after the latest season of Mandalorian or before or whatever? So that's really cool. And then I've gotten one of my friends to watch everything. So I've gotten him to watch Clone Wars, Rebels, and I've gotten him to read Lost Stars. I was like, you have to read this book. You have to read this book. And then finally he actually read it, and I'm about to get my girlfriend to read Lost Stars too. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to get, some people involved with it too. I mean, it's not about just like making them like appreciate it, but it's also like giving them like an understanding of like why you like it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, someone who I'm a friend with, like, her dad is a huge Star Wars fan, and to be able to give a whole spiel about why I like it juxtaposed to how he likes it, it's a cool dynamic. Like it's a fun conversation to have. Just to be able to be like, oh yeah, what's your favorite movie? Oh, it's this. Oh, well, I like the sequels. Oh, well, I don't. Well, okay, well, that's fine. I mean, like, whatever, that's your prerogative.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be over here telling you that you're wrong and then I'm right and everything. It's just every single person's opinions is interesting. And even if you have or if you haven't seen Star Wars, I mean, the least thing you can do is just understand why people like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because because in high school, the amount of people I've talked to, and they were like, "Oh, I would watch Star Wars, but I don't understand. There's too much going on." I'm like, "Well, okay. Well, there's a kid. He's an orphan. He was picked up by aunt and uncle. He wants, a big adventure, and he feels like that he's stuck. And then he goes on, and then he's secretly the son of one of the most like villainous people in the entire galaxy. And it's just a bunch of adventures. More friends come along the way, and there's a huge story about the Force, and like that's literally the gist of it. But there's so much more that comes into play.
Even just like with you guys, like the different perspectives of like the generational fans, and like
That's
I remember,
huge, yes.
like it's always funny to hear people like, oh yeah, like I didn't get into Star Wars like since quarantine, or I didn't get, like like hearing people say my first Star Wars movie was The Force Awakens. Like we're at that point where people are growing up, they're adults, and they're first like, oh, like I'm a teenager that enjoys movies like this, and I started with The Force Awakens, and I'm like, I love it all, but I'm like, man, this is wild. Like it's wild to me that people don't understand Star Wars drought of like not getting anything. Of just like you had 3 movies, you would get books, you would get comics, and you would get video games, and you got toys. Like that was it. Like there was no shows, no movies. Like even when like the Phantom Menace came out, like that, like my whole family went to the theater to go see the Phantom Menace. That was such a big deal.
Yeah.
That a new Star Wars movie was coming out. And I loved it. And my dad always comments on every movie special effects, and it's funny because when kids watch movies today, so many movies today have so much CGI that it's like it's whatever. Like if you look at the Marvel movies, like those are all CGI.
Yeah.
And then like coming from like even pre The Matrix, like not that movies didn't have that much CGI in it, so it was kind of jarring at first. And that was something my dad did comment. He's like, man, that's a lot of hokey computer graphics they got in there. But obviously the pod racing scene, which still holds up.
I mean, Chase, I'm assuming you've seen the Light and Magic documentary, right?
I haven't seen
Disney
all
Plus.
of it, but I've seen a good chunk of it, and it's incredible.
It's a great documentary.
It just explains like ILM, and then when Jurassic Park came out, was like George Lucas's cue to like, okay, well, we have the technology to make the prequels. Let's start doing this.
Yeah, I just recently rewatched Empire Strikes Back with one of my cousin's kids because they're getting into Star Wars and they're like 4, and their favorite characters are
Boba Fett,
Darth Mater.
Darth Mater.
That's what they call Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
It's funny you bring up Boba Fett because it reminded me, talking about like when we were growing up in Star Wars, is that there was a rumor. I think this is exclusive to my elementary school. And this is when we didn't know anything about Boba Fett. Like Jango Fett did not exist. It was like, the visor. He's got 16 eyes and they're all lined up in a T shape. That's why he wears the visor like that. Like we didn't know. No one knew. Like there was a book about him and a comic book about him that was like, oh yeah, but like most people hadn't read that, especially like in like 4th and 5th grade.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, he's definitely an alien. And he wears the mask because he's so hideous, blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah. And now I'm like, nah, it's just Tamora Morrison.
Yeah, it's so
cool.
Yeah, someone got a little bit too far into the Mandalorian armor by KW Jeter.
This.
So
going into visual effects though, like Empire Strikes Back, even watching that, you can start to see the beginnings of what is now, because even then ILM was George made ILM to do what they do today. And like he's it's part of the reasons why you got to appreciate George, even if you can separate Star Wars from George now a little bit.
Sure. I mean, he's super important to filmmaking in general.
Yep. And I think that's
I mean, we wouldn't have this platform without George Lucas.
exactly.
Digital
it's-
audio, editing,
and the
all of
visual
it.
without the any of the visual effects people, John Knoll. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like, I know there's a lot of news and hate and clickbaity things about George Lucas,
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy, and all that now, but like, when we owe so much to George Lucas, and I've always, maybe this is like a really grim way of looking at it, is like, no one's immortal. George Lucas is gonna die.
No.
George Lucas was old when the special editions were coming out. Like, I remember if you watched the special edition
you already start
VHS,
to see the gray.
yeah, they start that
Yeah.
those movies with interviews with George Lucas on each film and what it was like and why he's doing these special editions, and he's got full gray hair at that point. That's 30 years ago almost.
30,
now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's an older guy, and
Wearing
it's like,
plaid till the day he dies, though. That's
Yeah.
one of my never without a plaid t-shirt.
we
And
owe a
Nike
lot
Monarchs.
to him.
He's,
denim.
he's 79.
Yeah, we can certainly look back and make criticisms and critiques about the things he did, the decisions he made,
Mhm.
All sorts of stuff, and that's fine. I think that's fair, but like, never disrespect to George Lucas.
No.
But like, we can move on once George Lucas is gone. He's no longer working with Star Wars. He's still on set, which I think is hilarious. Most people don't realize.
Yeah.
Like, he comes on set all the time just to see
the
what's
friend,
going on.
Yeah, he's basically the friend that's like, "Hey, you're working on this thing? Okay, I'll come over."
Yeah, the day that George
Yeah,
Lucas
Pat, that's
Yeah.
passes away,
underestimate. That's
is-
an understatement.
Yeah,
It's gonna
Pat.
be
I think
really,
I think
really
I think the
hard.
world's going to stop for a solid minute.
I think
like,
it'll be on par with Stan Lee. I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or Carrie
Yeah.
Fisher.
Carrie Fisher for
Yep.
sure. But yeah, it's just like I obviously I'm pretty fresh with the animated stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember when I first watched like the first 2 episodes of Rebels when they were airing, and I did enjoy them. I just never like continued with it. And I do remember people talking like, "Oh, this is terrible. It's not the Clone Wars." And I'm like, "Here we go again." Everyone hated the Clone Wars when it came out. Believe it or not, people thought this was stupid. I thought the Clone Wars was
Ahsoka's
stupid.
annoying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very soon.
People didn't like the skinny lightsabers. They didn't like the animation style. They wanted them to go back to Clone Wars, blah, blah, blah. Well, now that George Lucas is gone, they're screwing up Disney or Star Wars animation.
It's just
and I'm
Star
like,
Wars Aladdin,
yeah.
especially with those first 2 episodes.
And when we look at, like,
No.
kind of like even to maybe like guide us back on track a little
Yeah.
bit, even though this conversation is great, like
Yeah.
the stories that Rebels created without George Lucas and the stuff that was expanded upon, stuff that he worked on with Dave Filoni in the Clone Wars, stuff that he had established, like, don't fucking forget, we wouldn't have Mandalorians if it wasn't for the holiday special. And seeing like this rich lore, and like I've said, like I'm not the biggest Mandalorian person. Like I like the show, I like the characters involved with it, but I'm not like obsessed with it the way a lot of people are. But when we look at Heroes of Mandalore and like the stakes and weight of the situations that are going on in episodes like this, and how it's really diving deep into Mandalorian history and lore, it's like, wow, we have come so far from me thinking Boba Fett had 16 eyes to like an incredibly deep and rich civilization that is like that has its own language that people have learned to like read and speak. That like if you go to any convention, whether it's like Star Wars Celebration or like an anime convention, there are people dressed up as Mandalorians, their own like little Mandalorian stuff. Like it's awesome, and I think this episode really does like kind of harp on that of like there's so many things, so many facets of Star Wars that you can dive deep into and find like a whole personality inside of it.
Oh yeah.
But I think also what's interesting is that, like, obviously the original trilogy, we learned that there's a galactic civil war, and wars are so deep, and you don't realize the nitty gritty and kind of like these super important people that are in the rebellion until you watch Rebels and Andor, and like really seeing if the Rebels aren't successful in Rebels. If the Ghost Crew isn't successful, like the rebellion the Empire probably would have won the war. And it's really cool to see that, and like trying to get people into Rebels. That's what I kind of say. Like these guys have to succeed, or else Thrawn and everybody is going to prevail.
Yeah, the war changes with TIE defenders.
Exactly.
The
was
great
actually
TIE
explaining that to
defender
someone
debate has
today.
returned.
Yeah, I was explaining that to someone today. I was like, no. If Thrawn is still there at that time and the TIE defenders go through, it's over. It's G. War's probably done. So it's just, I don't know. It's cool.
That's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Wait, that's an interesting thing, Chase, because like
You're the ship guy, so
like comparing the TIE Defender to like the whole Project Stardust and the TIE Defender project, that's been like a huge debate for a while about like which one was if the TIE Defender project went through, would they have won the war? If the Death Star, was more, upkept and they didn't have any faults to them, would they both hold up? And because like Star Wars is just full of weapons, mass destruction,
and it's been that way since the 90s. Because even the old Legends books,
people get upset about the second Death Star and Starkiller Base. I'm like, y'all really liked.
Y'all missed the Star Crusher.
Knights of the Old Republic and the Star Forge. It's a pointy Death Star. Get over
Star
it.
Forge, it's a pointy Death Star that runs off the Force.
Yeah.
And I mean,
somehow the Star Forge runs off the Force.
No, God.
Somehow the Star Forge has returned. Imagine this is Star Forge.
That's just going to be KOTOR 3 if they ever make it.
Wait, the Rakadans are still here? But no, this episode dives
and scary. I just said these big and scary weapons is a great segue into your question, Char.
Exactly. I mean, that was what I was about to say. Like, Heroes of Mandalore touches base on the weapon that Sabine created, the arc pulse generator called the Duchess, which is able to take out Mandalorians like it's nothing. Can just bypass the Beskar and just grill them. And when you see like what it's capable of, it's kind of frightening to see what it was able to do to Sabine's people, the machine that she created. And I just want to see, because there's so many different weapons, as I said before. What do you think is the scariest weapon in Star Wars? It could be Legends, it could be the expanded universe, or it can be canon. Which one is the scariest?
I've got two.
I got a good
one. And I can definitely touch on this because the argument against this, I think, is the dumbest freaking thing. The Final Order Eternal Fleet, I think, is the scariest weapon. Like just many Star Destroyers attached, or Death Stars attached to Star Destroyers. And I think the argument of, this doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, we're talking about 30 years of technological advancement in universe. And I'm like, go back to a cell phone from 30 years ago and tell me that it's the same thing as your cell phone today. Or a computer or a car from the same amount of time ago. Even if we look at, go into like military stuff, like a plane from 30 years ago versus a plane today. Not even close to the same thing.
And even televisions too. Like technology gets smaller and more powerful. That's literally how evolution goes with technology.
Yeah. So I think the Sith Eternal Fleet is really cool, really terrifying. And I do love the contrast of this, like on Exegol, this perfectly aligned grid of formation of the Final Order fleet. And then the contrast of the Resistance and New Republic scattered ships coming in from the distance of all shapes, all sizes, coming in wherever they could come in from, and just showing like that the chaos of like the goodness in people versus the order of the Final Order and the remnants of the Empire. So I love the symbology and imagery in that scene. But from Legends, the thought bomb from the Bane trilogy, stupid as shit.
Yeah.
Really fucking stupid. But like the idea that like
it's just
you
terrifying.
You can cast a force spell that just disintegrates every living thing around it.
What?
Dumb as hell. Dumb as hell.
And then it traps your souls.
Yes.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. It's this thing that like Bane convinces the Sith army. I forget what they call it.
It's the Brotherhood of Darkness. Lord
yeah,
Khan.
yeah. Oh God.
Khan is the dumbest Sith. Khan has to be the dumbest Sith Lord ever to exist. But that's a whole nother discussion.
He convinces a Sith general, and General Hoth, in the Army of Light.
Yeah, the Army of Light to
counteract
the Brotherhood of Darkness.
I can't believe Disney killed off the expanded universe. But the weapon is just a power of the Force that just disintegrates life, with just basically like meditation and misplaced meditation, and Bane just using it against the own like Sith, Brotherhood of Darkness, and like they explode in a cave, I think is when they do this.
Yeah, they were doing the ritual in a cave, yeah.
And it explodes essentially the life on the planet in like a something kilometer radius. It's basically a nuke of the Force.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty terrifying, pretty stupid, worst name for anything. But like it is like, man, that just wipes out everything around it.
So many good things though wrapped around it, because Jedi Outcasts, I mean, and Cal Katarn, Valley of the Jedi, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
thought bomb, terrifying but stupid.
I have to agree that the Zeiston class, like Star Destroyers, from they are dead. They are deadly because, like, I was originally thinking, well, you know, Starkiller Base, because it has to take out not just one solar system but two at the very least, because it sucks all of the energy from the nearby star to then power up and then blow up
5 planets.
Yeah. So it's taking out 2 systems in that case, but the Zeiston could do more than that because there's so many of them. And the portability, because they're smaller, like we said, technology gets smaller, so becomes more effective, and in this case more deadly. For Legends, I've already mentioned it, the Sun Crusher.
Oh no.
The Sun Dang it, Disney.
What it does is it creates a supernova, and it can survive a supernova wave, but nothing else can. So the only way they got rid of it is I think they had to pilot it into a sun, and then that way nobody could get to it. Which means it's still there, it's just nobody can get to it.
Force pull.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Hereth.
Yeah, I wonder why Disney got rid of these books.
Yeah.
Hereth.
Yes. Travis.
I bet we're thinking the same one, and I'm gonna count down.
I know
to
we
3,
are.
And we're gonna say this. We're
doing this again. Okay.
All right.
3,
Wait.
2,
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say 3, 2, 1.
The Leveler.
Oh, the Leveler.
Yeah.
I mean, what's more scary? And I mean, the thing is scary in itself, but how it's written is like it's silent, and then like just nothing, or Drenny, just GG. Like I don't know, just the way
GG Rennie.
Written is so the way it's written is just so scary, and for it to have such an impact on a character like Stellan Gios, saying for the first time Stellan Gios is afraid, and to end the book like that because of what he saw.
Is afraid.
Afraid.
Is afraid. Oh, sorry. For the first time,
clear your mind.
It's like for the first time, Stellan Gios is afraid, and it's like, holy shit! This is taking a full-grown Jedi Knight, and what he saw is
there's
just watching him
I
get
don't know.
sick.
That's
Watching him get sick throughout the book just from being in vicinity of it.
Yes.
I mean,
what's more scary than that?
I mean, the ending of Rising Storm being that line, and you're just like,
Yes.
first time he felt afraid, and then it's like, this is an audiobook presented by Mark Thompson. You're like, what? You can't just end it there.
I don't like this book, but the Revan novel.
Oh yeah,
not a good book. I've read it multiple times. Not a good book.
I disagree, but that's fine.
What Vitiate does to Nathema,
Oh
I
yeah,
think the writing that Drew Karpyshyn does is, I think, very similar to what you guys are discussing, of like the Eternal Emperor of the Old Republic drains the Force from a planet completely. And when Revan and Mitra Surik and I think Canderous is with him.
No, it's Scourge.
Oh yeah, Lord Scourge.
Yes, because Canderous had to stay back so he could reunite the Mandalorian clans.
Right.
What a good job you did, by the way, Canderous.
Yeah, it worked out perfectly. They basically, the way it's described is basically they get off of the planet and they feel nothing. Like they want to feel cold but can't feel anything. And it's just like this very like desolate description of nothingness, and like seeing what used to be there but can't feeling like there's no feeling of anything there, like it's all artificial, but they know that there was something here at one point. And it's the way he wrote it, of like, that is genuinely creepy and terrifying. But yeah, the draining of the Force of Nathema also just kind of terrifying.
Char, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, definitely. Char, what about you?
Yeah, mine is it's my favorite weapon in Star Wars. It is canon, and I'm pretty sure it's very intimidating. It's the seismic charge. Yeah, it is the coolest weapon, and you do not want to be near it at all.
Forever defending the Book of Boba Fett and Boba Fett dropping a seismic charge into the Sarlacc pit. Like top 5 Star Wars moments. Yeah.
Yes.
I know. Like who would have thought that was the way the Sarlacc actually went out? Like here's some dinner.
Seismic charge is great. The seismic charge was my favorite sound in Star Wars until the Holdo maneuver.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah, that I think that also coupled with the visuals of the Holdo maneuver, but man, the blah.
It's also that perfect for both of them. It's that perfect timing
Silence.
of no sound. Yeah, silence.
Yeah,
and then the sound. Yeah.
Yeah, I do know, something about the seismic charge. Just I don't know. I can watch it on repeat every day, and it would.
It's very nostalgic.
It never gets
very
old.
nostalgic.
Like my reaction to seeing it when in season 2, episode 7 of Mando, when they were evading everyone and on Morak, and just boom, and just takes out 2 TIE fighters at the same time.
In the theaters when Attack of the Clones was coming out, well, that was definitely a movie that was criticized, I think, pretty shortly after, mostly just because of the dialogue of that movie. Coming out of the theater, being like a young teenager, everyone was walking out of the theater going, "Whoa!" Like that was like we hadn't like the TIE fighter and the lightsaber were like the iconic sounds of Star Wars outside of the score, and then we didn't really have anything after that. Pod Racers, the from the Pod Racers was pretty cool, but everyone talked about how cool the seismic charges were, especially in the theater, never hearing them saying things, just like you said, that silence, like, what is that? And then that huge boom, you're like, whoa. It's like, this is sick.
This is going to be a stupid question, but I know they did it for The Last Jedi. For Attack of the Clones, did they have to put a warning up saying there's like 15 seconds of silence that is intentionally in the movie? Because I know with Last Jedi, that was a whole thing. They had to put a warning on the in most theaters saying
I don't even remember that for The Last Jedi.
A second. I don't remember there was that warning either. Like the weekend after, it was like yes, the film is silent. It's the point.
Oh wow.
Huh.
I mean, I feel like an underrated sound in Star Wars is the N1 Starfighter scream.
Oh yeah,
that one is nostalgic.
Great.
Like I can I don't know why I do this, but whenever I'm driving my car and I'm going like at least 40 miles an hour or over, I always put like either Millennium Falcon sound effects or Slave One sound effects, and like I'm pretending like I'm flying the ship as I'm going like 70, 80 on the highway. It just feels incredible. Like it just, I don't know. I like making myself immersed in a way. I don't know. It's just a thing I do.
Yeah.
I'll always go. There's like a scene in The Rise of Skywalker, or the scenes out of Skywalker where Kylo's trying to run over Rey. And he's just like staring in. And every single time I'm like driving and I'm going fast, I'm like,
that. Are you talking about when he's in the Whisper and and Rey's does the back? Yeah, man. That even that being in the trailer was fantastic.
Yep.
And just seeing her backflip over the tie, you're like, okay, this is going to be sick. But even like watching it in the movie, you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That had to be the smartest advertisement move they did for that film.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You kidding me? The excitement just from that one jump.
And also the way that it's cut with Luke's dialogue over with like the generations living you now, and she activates the lights. Oh, it's just...
Yeah, and just seeing how high she jumped up, just right there, like not a single word has been said. It just shows you how far she's gotten into her training.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
Nah, bro, she's a Mary Sue.
Mary Sue. Worst movie ever. It's not canon.
Yeah,
They're gonna decanonize the sequels tomorrow.
Yeah, Ray.
God, I don't want to
Yeah.
talk about that. I got into a feud on chases.
Yeah, Ray Midwalker.
Anyway, going back on a positive note, moving forward. Next question. So we see on these 2 episodes and Charles of the Darksaber, we really get to dive deep into Sabine's character. We get to learn a lot about her. We really get to see her grow as a character from season 1 all the way to this point, to what happens with Kanan later on, all the way through. With the upcoming Ahsoka series, what do you guys hope that we see in Sabine Wren? What do you hope that what characteristics do you hope that she obtains? And let's go to CJ first.
So we start to kind of see this level of confidence and leadership in her near the end of Rebels. Yeah. And I would really like to see her having completed that arc in a way by the start of Ahsoka, where she's already a confident leader. And we see, like, because we're going to see Lothal. We're going to see Lothal post Return of the Jedi. And it would be nice to see her kind of almost taking a role of running things on Lothal, I think, because I could imagine her in that position, and maybe even having to come back to terms with connecting with her family again more, because we see that she's starting to connect, but she never goes back to them because she has her mission still to complete. But that mission's done by Return of the Jedi, other than to find Ezra.
Yeah, and that's not just to kind of piggyback off of that with leadership. Me being the giant Ezra fan that I am, I'm just praying that she's like, no, we need to find him. Like, this is extremely important. So all my hope is in Sabine right now.
I mean, not to piggyback off the piggyback, but I guess here we are. One of the things that I noticed during this episode, and I feel like it's going to come back with Ahsoka, is like Sabine's very rageful in this episode, like just trying to get to her dad. Like, it's like whatever it takes, whatever we need. Like, and like she's like yelling at Ezra, like, you need to get in there now. Like, I can see like Sabine kind of being like that for Ezra, like, because this is like the last thing she's holding on to with the mission. It's just getting to Ezra. So I can see her kind of like with the Imperial Hyries, like I don't even know what to call them, like the Sith, kind of like, you know what I'm talking about, like the Darksiders, the Imperial Darksiders. I could see her like fighting him with Ezra's lightsaber and her being like rageful, like the way we kind of see her in this episode.
Yeah, how about you, Chase?
There's like a theme that I like to see in Star Wars that very rarely gets explored, and that's like the skeleton in the closet theme. And I would like to almost see it like a call back to this episode or this arc of like, well, she kind of has like come to terms and come to peace with the Duchess and what it did to her people and how she kind of, turned it against the Empire in the end. Still having to like have those repercussions, because like we see in the Mandalorian that the Empire is the remnants of the Empire, I should say, and then the fledgling First Order is still borrowing Mandalorian technology and using it against their own Mandalorians, and her having to continuously throughout her life deal with, even though it may not be directly her mistakes catching up to her, but her having to deal with it. It's like my biggest thing with Poe is, if we continue Poe's story, he needs to answer to all the things he did in The Last Jedi and before then. Erica Quell is my favorite example of this. I bring it up too much, but like having to continuously answer for what she did and having to make that a part of her to become a better person. And I think Sabine, well, she's a much better person than Erica Quell is. by leaps and bounds. I think I would like to see her version of that, of you are a good person, you just can't come to terms with the fact that you're a good person. Whereas Erica Quell had to learn to become a good person, and just like her being like, I'm not a good person. Everyone's like, no, Sabine, you are fine. You just need to accept that. And like, I think having some type of even tie into like Mandalorian season 3 of what the Empire, remnants of the Empire, is doing with Mandalorians still to that day, I think would be really cool to see. And having her have to like combat those old wounds like yet again, something I think would be really cool to see.
I mean, I feel like that was one of the best parts of this episode was Sabine's accountability. Like, we don't really see that in Star Wars option being like, no, I did these things. I screwed over my people. I created the weapon that's going to destroy us, but I'm going to be the one that like destroys it for you guys. Like you've never seen, like, we've seen redemption arcs, but we've never seen like it to this extent of like, no, I screwed up. It was on me. Let me fix it.
Her taking the blame is very big.
Like
because she easily could have not.
Almost
like,
almost every character that has a redemption arc, save for Sabine and Tam, gets off scot-free. At least as far as like the visual media. Like there are books, like again, Erica Quell does not get she does. That's not fair. spoilers for Victory's Prize. But it's like it's a circumstantial forgiveness from the New Republic, but like with Sabine and with Tam, there is like owning up to what you did, and luckily Tam doesn't go to the extent that Sabine does. In her arc, now her redemption arc I think is wildly different, but is also just so much. Hers and Sabine are so well written, not just like, we totally forgive you for killing like trillions of people because there's good in you.
The moment between Sabine and Bo-Katan in these episodes, when they're talking about the creation of the weapon and also like the fact that it's named after.
That was one of the best moments of the episode.
Like, it's just a string of mistakes, okay?
Like that, but they have like an actual discussion though before they raid the Imperial facility, and it's more than you would have expected for Star Wars when it comes to redemption arcs.
Also the fact that like Sabine goes too far and Bo has to pull her back and being like don't rise to their levels. Like that's one of the best moments in Rebels.
And I think that, even up until the finale of season 4 is we do see Sabine still struggle with certain things. And I don't think the struggle should ever end for someone. There should always be that struggle up until the very that's what makes characters really interesting. So seeing Sabine still struggle with, like I said, ghosts of the past. Like I think like Moff Gideon's programs should be like mentioned in Ahsoka. And Sabine should feel guilty about those programs. Not that they're her fault, but I would like to see like a visceral reaction from Sabine to Moff Gideon's programs.
Because we also have to consider that Sabine in Rebels is a young adult. She's only 19 by the end of the series. She's going through emotions like all over, because teenagers and young adults, we got emotional at those ages, and on top of the crazy situations they're in, that feeds into those emotions, and it's gonna get what we get out of these characters. We see it with Ezra, we see it with Sabine, because they're the kids of the crew, and so they feel like there's a lot of weight on them that might not completely be there, but they tend to be quick at wanting to take accountability when they realize their mistakes, and sometimes they go overboard with it.
Someone in Star Wars going overboard.
First I've heard of it.
Well, Char, what about you? What do you hope to see from Sabine?
Well, I mean, just all of you guys have been saying, just being able to own up to your mistakes, because I'm sure that we'll see in the show. Because let's be honest, we all know Ezra's gonna Ezra's not just gonna be a hologram. He's gonna show up.
Yeah.
So I'm
body bag.
I'm sure.
No. He better.
Sabine will. I feel like there'll come a time, because I'm sure Ezra within the time frame he has matured a lot. I mean, 10 years has gone by, so a lot has changed from him, and he's seen things and he's experienced things. And I'm sure Sabine's going to be very emotional. She's going to be very sorrowful. She's going to be, apologizing for everything. Like, I should have done this. This is like kind of like reminiscing like all like the times where like she could have like done things a different way, but they never went the right way. Because it wasn't her fault all the time. It was because of like them getting chased by the Empire 24/7.
Yeah.
But I hope that like they'll come to terms with everything that happened within that time frame, and being like, "Hi, how are you?" Kind of like Doc Ock and Peter Parker in No Way Home. They're like, "Oh, hi, it's been a while. I'm sorry that I almost tried to this and that, but I just hope that there's like a lot of compassion when they see each other again." So just be able to own up to her mistakes, as we see in this episode.
We are a month and a half away about. So.
That's wild. That is.
I know. And the timing of this podcast, the timing of which we are covering these shows is oddly
perfect. It's so perfect.
The final episode of this will air the week Ahsoka comes out. We move things around to make it happen.
Because literally, like, even in the trailer of the show is in the last episode of Rebels. So the timing is just spot on. We will have everything done. We'll have a recap. It'll be great. I'm just so stoked for Ahsoka. And everything in this final season is everything you need to know about this show, honestly. If you want to get a recap of Rebels before you go and see Ahsoka, just watch season 4. It tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Season 1, 2, and 3, it gives you into the characters. It tells you like what happens to specific characters, like what happened to Darth Maul. Season 3, what happened to Ezra. Why is Ezra like the way he is? We'll watch season 1. Watch his growth as a Jedi. Watch him having to deal with the Grand Inquisitor and the fifth brother and the seventh sister and the eighth brother
Vader.
And everyone within that time frame.
Yeah,
but season 4,
I think you're dead on. Like for someone who's just looking for a quick recap of like, what do I need to know before getting into Ahsoka? Like season 4 of Rebels, I think. It's like if you really don't care about who is who and like, it's pretty obvious who is who in season 4. I think they have those characters established, and you get the Kanan and Hera relationship. You get Sabine and Ezra's relationship. You get to know who Chopper is. Like you don't get all the deep details of everyone. No. But like you understand what's going on in the last season, and just watching it all the way through, I think will prepare anyone for Ahsoka.
Yeah, because at the very end, you find out like about Jason Syndulla. I mean, you also see how Kanan goes, because you're like, oh yeah, why isn't Kanan there? Well, Kanan dies in the last season.
Yeah,
and you'll see why where did everyone go? Because at the very end, obviously, I'm pretty sure Sabine does the recap of like of everyone. So it tells you like where everyone went, because I mean you see in in Mando season 3 that Zeb is part of the New Republic defense, and it's very quick. I mean, in the first 2, the 1 and 2 is an arc, the one that we're covering today, and then next week will be 3 and 4, which is an arc. So I mean, you can get through season 4 pretty fast.
It's only 16 episodes.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, because what average season is 22.
22, but for Rebels it was 20, except 23. For season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, 23 because TV movies. Yeah.
So I mean, like season 4, literally this season right here will prepare you for Ahsoka. I'm just so excited to be able to cover it. It's so perfectly orchestrated, but like impromptu at the same time. Because Luke has done this plenty of times before, where he's scheduled things, and they just time up. They just line up
perfection.
Yeah.
They line up perfectly, but unintentionally. It's weird how he did this, because he did this with Clone Wars. And
this was years ago. This was released. Like we've had the Rebel scan. Like it's been over a year and a half since all of Rebels has been planned. It just so happened to be that the last episode lined up with when we didn't even have any clue when Ahsoka was going to come up.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
I mean, I heard that Ahsoka was actually getting canceled. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I heard that too.
Yeah, John Favreau,
even though it's
Filoni,
done.
Kathleen Kennedy.
Kathleen
they,
Kennedy's
they got
upset,
tired of
and
Kathleen
The
so
Kennedy.
woke
like
mob has come
bullshit.
in and destroyed it. You know.
Yep. Exactly. Well, Char, do you want to get into your 3 interesting facts about the arc?
You know what? Hey, Hereth, I would fire up that little thing you got over there.
Trying to figure out. I've never done this before.
It's
You could just say it.
3 interesting facts about a certain Rebels arc that you didn't know about until now. Okay, just for you, Chase, I will say it. 3 interesting facts about a certain Rebels arc that you didn't know about until now. Part
Deja
42,
vu.
Heroes. Heroes, Part 42, Heroes of Mandalore edition. Fact 1: the dawn of Beskar. The armor of the Mandalorian warriors is, for the first time, referred to as Beskar on screen. This is a term introduced in Star Wars Legends Republic Commando novels by Karen Travis, giving the name to a concept of Mandalorian armor, first introduced in the 90s comics of Tales of the Jedi by Tom Veitch. Fact 2: the perks of Celebration. This episode was first publicly shown at Star Wars Celebration Orlando on April 15th, 2017, a full 6 months before its television debut. It was just like us with Tales of the Jedi. Yeah, with the Ahsoka episode. Fact 3. Fact 3.
Visions this year, so.
Fact 3. An original insignia concept. An earlier iteration of the story had Sabine knighting her Mandalorian soldiers with the Darksaber, creating a scorch mark on their armor. And there you have it. Those are the 3 interesting facts about Heroes of Mandalore.
So
they never once say Beskar in the Clone Wars.
No. But I was actually there for the Orlando one, and I was upset for multiple reasons. Because that's also
Did you not get into the panel?
No, I was in that panel. I watched the episode. I was upset because the episode left us off on that cliffhanger, but also like previous celebrations, they showed both parts of a 2-parter episode, and that
first one,
and that one they only showed the first half, and so they were like, "All right, you watched it, bye." It's just like, oh no,
That's great. I love it.
But that was also the year where Dave was being all playful about the Ahsoka Lives stuff too, because that's when
because he had the T-shirt that he would come out in.
That's when the big T-shirt thing happened, when he switched T-shirts mid, like during the panel, he switched T-shirts.
Dave Filoni is such a menace. he knows what he's doing. I mean, when we saw Tales of the Jedi, and when he did the whole thing about just like, oh yeah, I just casually was writing this on a plane ride, and then hey, here you go. Here's the first episode, and then we got to wait 5-6 months for the actual show to release, and we're like, oh my god, you scoundrel! Now we got to wait half a year for this.
I mean, he just knows how to be creative and promote what he's doing.
Oh no, he's brilliant, but he'll get you excited enough to wait.
He'll troll you a bit, but it's a fun troll.
He'll get you excited enough to wait. That's the brilliance of him.
For sure. Well, without further ado, let's get into ranking the episodes. So we have Bad Ensign, Okay Lieutenant, Good Captain, Great Admiral, Chef's Kiss, Grand Admiral. Let's go to Chase first.
I'd give this a Grand Admiral. I think this is such a strong start to a season. And the last time we got a season 4 start, it was pretty terrible. So to make up for a season 4 start, this is fantastic.
Are we talking about season 4 of Clone Wars?
The Mon Cala arc.
Oh my
God. Prince Lee Char.
Said day for Prince Lee Char.
Yeah. But I mean, this is just a great opening to a season. I think it's fantastic. I think the themes of it are incredible. I think I think Sabine has had really good character arcs throughout this, but going from Trials of the Darksaber to Heroes of Mandalore kind of back to back for Sabine arcs is just so intense for her character, and just the payoff at the end and like the learning experience and how she deals with everything is incredible. That kind of like, I can't imagine watching just the first episode and thinking everyone's gone.
That would suck.
That would be terrible. But also hilarious they did that.
I just imagine the contrast, like the episode fading, and then you hear the classic like celebration, like music come up with the Cantina band, and they're like, "That's the end of this episode." You're just like, "What the hell?"
Well, no, because you still got that sad, really good music that they have at that first episode. They still played that, but then then
yeah.
going back out onto the main floor.
Whenever the main theme doesn't play at the end, it's it's never good.
Yeah. Whenever that sad theme, which we're gonna get that a lot this season.
Yeah.
Yep, whenever it goes white.
This this episode was great. Or these episodes are really, really good. One thing about this that we haven't really touched on is the color palette of this episode is really incredible. It is a pale yellow pretty much the entire time, where Rebels has very much been an incredibly colorful show comparatively to like what the Clone Wars was, and just to have this very muted like very bright but muted color palette for pretty much the entire 2 episodes was really cool to watch. And
when it sets the tone for the season, sets the tone.
Yeah,
for the season,
and the location, because they're on that. Mandalore is basically a dead world at this point.
Also, because they did it for budget reasons, because they only could use little.
I also am with you on Grand Admiral. It's such a strong start to a season, to the final season, and even at Celebration, I knew like just watching that first episode and being left where we were, not knowing the fate of Sabine's mom and brother, like it's fantastic. And then you get the second half where you get to know the fate and you go through Sabine's arc. It's just really good. And it sets the tone for the season, and I think it does a good job of taking us where we need to go next.
For sure. Hereth, what about you?
I feel like I'm gonna break the trend here. Like, I rarely give it up episodes of Grand Admiral. It has to like hit that like kind of Jedi Knight, Twilight of the Apprentice, Trial of the Darksabers, and I feel like it's almost there. It's like a hair off, but I gotta go with Admiral.
Yeah, respectable. Char, what about you?
Hereth, I'm riding shotgun. It's an Admiral for me.
And I'm in the back seat because it's also an Admiral. It's not quite.
We got a triangle card here.
We got a few more space in the back if you guys want to join us.
And like Harris said, it's not quite a family reunion and farewell. It's not quite a Try the Apprentice. It's not a Jedi Knight
does
or
stand
a
out.
Twin
The story,
it
does
a
very strong Kickstarter for season 4. In the finale season, that it's a very good starter. But it's not one that's like, it's not one that you remember every day.
Yeah.
Like there's
other than me, who's been scarred by Dave.
There's ones that like when you think of Rebels, you don't like, you think about 3 or 4 arcs that stand out.
Yeah.
And I mean,
well, what's crazy about season 4 is once you get to Hereth being captured, it's all one arc. I would say it's all just one continuous arc, which makes it.
Really I'm saying this is season 4 is my favorite season of Star Wars television. Just period, straight up.
Same here.
It's good. Yeah. It's really good. It doesn't stop being good.
Yeah.
It just
gets good and keeps
stay steady from here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the strongest thing about Rebels is how consistently good it is. Like there are, I think there are episodes that are certainly slower than some of the episodes, but there's always something good. You always learn something about one of the main characters in each episode. So it is a really, really strong show. As much as I love Resistance and love kind of like pandering towards Resistance, like there's definitely episodes in there that are just, mindless fun, not anything really going on, but Rebels is just so consistently fantastic. Love this show. It's great.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you guys all for joining us. Chase, where can the good people find you?
You could find me on the internet on TikTok at Forward Into the Black. You can also find me on Twitch every once in a while. I haven't really been streaming too much. Been pretty busy with work and a few other things, work related and life related, but usually talking about Star Wars, talking about Star Citizen, and we'll be talking about Starfield once it comes out, but a lot of that will be probably Star Citizen adjacent, talking about it, and then obviously relating it back to Star Wars, but soon I'll get back into the whole streaming thing.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. CJ, how about you?
So y'all can find me on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, all the apps on Kick, on Escape Reality Films, where for Twitch and Kick, I've been streaming some Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition leading up to BG3.
Kick is not the bootleg messaging app you're talking
No,
about.
no.
Kick
No.
is like
No.
the
No,
new-
It's a new
I had that
streaming-
I had that confusion too when I first heard about it, but they were like, no, it's KICK. It's a new
Yeah.
streaming.
It's
Oh,
the
I
Twitch
remember
killer.
And you
Kick,
get
KIK,
paid. You get paid an
Yeah.
hourly.
I was
rate.
like, hey
You get
man,
paid.
I think Kick is used for
Other
something
things.
else today. If
Yeah.
that's what you're
yeah, I don't know what
promoting.
happened to that app. I used that thing like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
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 But Mondays and Fridays, and it depends when I feel like getting on, to be honest. But I try to at least be on by 4 for streaming Central Time. And then I didn't mention it at the top, but I did finally release I've been working on a tabletop role-playing system,
Oh, I saw that.
and I finally released this system reference document for it because I don't have the complete rule set ready to release on a book, but I am ready to release the system reference document for free for the public. And y'all can find that on my website at escaperealitybooks.weebly.com. I can't afford to pay for Weebly yet, but yeah, y'all can find it there, and it's free. The idea of releasing the system reference document is to let the creative people be able to use it to make their own adventures and stuff, campaign settings and all that with it, and just use my rule set for free. But you can also just, if you have friends and you want to try it out, it's a free way to do that. I know that D&D is big right now. I would know. I play so much of it, but it's my own original system, Pat. It's kind of a blend of all my favorite systems that I've played. So it's got a little bit of Pathfinder in there, a little bit of D&D, but also a little bit of the Fantasy Flight Star Wars system type of mechanics, all bundled into my own original ideas, because I like RPGs, and so I figured, why not make my own?
That's cool.
Sounds
That's sick.
incredible. Yeah, hopefully everybody can go check it out. That sounds actually incredible.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
Hereth,
everything
where
that
can
I've been
you-
up to.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. Hereth, where can good people
Well, you
find
can find me on Hereth Productions on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. Hey, look, we got the new Hive. Oh, look.
Ah,
and Threads.
The damn Threads.
You're
take
telling me
over the
Hive
world.
didn't work
sad day
out?
for Hive. Yeah.
I know, Chase. Who would have saw that coming? I know. I mean, of course, you can find me at Hereth_edits on Twitter. And then you can find me here on the Pod Ones.
Perfect. Char,
Char, so
where can good
weird.
people find you?
Good people, you can find me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at CharJ, as spelled right here. And you can find me here at the Pod Ones podcast every Thursday night as we cover our Star Wars Rebels rewatch. Check us out next week as we cover episode 104, episodes 3 and 4, In the Name of the Rebellion. And check us out for more trivia.
And you
Oh,
can
yeah, I
find
didn't put
me
that.
here on the Pod Ones pod. You find me here on the Pod Ones podcast and on Instagram at Carter Diver. We thank you all for joining us. May the force be with you.
Always.
Always.
See you guys.
I